Hi, and welcome. I don't know what day it is. What day is it? I was at a Ziff Davis summit for 3 days. Summit in air quotes. So anyway, hi, welcome to our podcast. It's someday in May. I got a big crowd here again today. A Lollapalooza. I guess. Start over.
That could be a veritable cornucopia of gaming knowledge.
Yes.
We're recording.
Introduce yourselves. Take the mic away from me.
Ryan Scott.
Anthony Gallegos.
Crispin Boyer.
Sean Elliott.
And Sean Malloy.
Hi, Crispin. I guess you're kind of like the special guest this week.
I am special.
Very special.
He's special.
He just got done dancing in Hobbit feet covered in Snickers and trail mix on top of Donkey Konga bongo drums.
In other words, it's Wednesday.
Yeah, you're so predictable with that shit.
I think I turned my ankle too.
Like clockwork.
Jeff, when we say that he did all of the above, we really mean he did all of the above.
Did he really do all that?
Yes.
Was it like the video that's going up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what the point of it was. It was an interpretive dance of, I guess, our collective moods or something. I don't know.
And it's got a review read over the top of it.
So if people want to see this, they can go where?
To our blog.
Oh, to the blog, podcast blog?
Sean, you know the URL for that, right? I don't. We don't know what day it is.
GFWradioblog.oneup.com or GFWradioblog.oneup.com.
Well,
yes.
Google it.
Won't it just be in the
May or may not have a dash. Yes,
Google
just
it.
Google.
Don't use our search engine.
We're so organized.
Look at the front page of OneUp.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, if they go to the GFW page, it should
Yeah, just click
be right there.
So this discussion we've had so far is not going to serve well for the first point I wanted to make today, which was that last week when we did that little item about the guys who dug up the body and then made a bong out of a skull.
Right.
So I got a few emails that were like, dude, I didn't know you smoke pot. And I just want to say, because there's a lot of kids who listen to the show. And, we're role models to some extent. That was a grave misunderstanding. Oh, God, that was horrible. I didn't mean grave. I didn't. I swear I didn't mean that. But, I want you guys all to know that, I don't need that kind of thing, to get high. I mean, I get high.
You don't need a human skull. An apple core or an old Coke can works just as well.
I can use my handcrafted Hawaiian wooden bong with the extra carburetor. I mean, no, that's not what I meant to say. I meant to say I get high on life and America. I have an American flag that I can just look at in my house if I want to get high. This is for my employers.
Soaring like an eagle.
My family.
Both Ryan
and all the readers out there.
Both Ryan and I have never smoked pot.
What do you mean both you
got drunk?
You and Ryan? None of us have.
Right.
We don't drink, smoke, cuss, or chew.
This is a family podcast. Right. If you know anybody that ever has done those things, you should shun them because it's not good for you.
I should say though, for all my meth stories, I've never even tried crystal meth. That's a fact.
Well, you're alone in this room on that one. That one we have done.
No, because that's like
all
one
the
of the
positive
things
experiences you've had around it.
Where it's just beyond peer pressure on that one. I just see what happened to the fools, and I'm like, this is make a note for it. This is a good story here, but it's one I don't want to be a principal character in.
Do not use this.
There actually are great stories when you talk to ye old timers in the game industry of people in meetings at EA with bongs on the table as they were planning stuff.
Wow.
Yep.
I'm sure it still happens someplace.
Those were the good old days. I'm sure it happens.
Sounds like.
I'm sure it was in one of those old album cover style.
Let's talk about
that. That's how they made them. What?
Anthony wants to tell us about his weekend job.
I work at well, again, I don't smoke pot. Never have. But I do work at a medical marijuana dispensary.
Do you?
On the weekends, a lot of times, for extra money that my sister owns.
I've had this cough.
But if you were thinking of the one place where there would be a bong on the planning table while they're working.
It would be there.
The amazing thing that you work there, you don't smoke, you've never smoked, and these people come in and they're like, I don't know, man, would you recommend the indica? Would you recommend the...
Well, the funny thing is they'll say the name, so yo, dog, should I get some Misty Mountain?
Is that how a sick... Is this how
what your job is,
sounds?
really? Are you kidding? This is your job? You recommend what type of marijuana brownie people should pick up?
I hook them up.
Do you wear a lab coat?
Wait, so I'm envisioning this terminal patient or this half blind glaucoma person's like, yo, dog, I can't see the shit. Tell me what the good stuff.
Nah, dude, come on. I told you there's like the terminally ill people that come in, and then of course there's like the people that went to like the doctor. Everyone on like the pot forum says like this is the guy to go to for the hookup. He'll write you prescription for headaches.
That doesn't happen, does it?
So do you get people coming in that just look like stoners who just want the hookup and they don't look remotely sick at all? Just
yeah.
Like, is that what most of the day is like? In fact,
yeah.
Have you ever had? What about like have you ever had to kick someone out?
I haven't had to kick someone out, but I've had to tell people they can't come in. And that's when they freak out a lot of times. Or they try and, first they do, the thing everyone does. Like, anybody that's worked retail has had that person that comes up and they're like, hey, man, I need to return this. And you're like, our store policy doesn't allow you to do that. And they all of a sudden go from, being, friends with you to just being,
hating you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it's like.
Wait, who's returning things to the medical marijuana?
Oh, they're not returning
a bag of seeds and twigs. Dude, when I worked in grocery, in produce, one time this guy comes in with, a big Ziploc bag, and it just had mush in it. It was just, a black and brown mush in a bag. And he's like, I need a refund. I was like, what is that? He's like, it was a squash. And I was like, well, did you buy it like that? Did you come in here with a fucking scoop and scrape it off of the refrigeration grate, and then now you want a refund on it? And he was like mad because it's supposed to be, he's always right. He's like, where's your manager?
Sounds like used food. It's been processed.
So the takeaway from this conversation is that Ziff Davis has pushed me to selling drugs on the weekends.
How do you get a job like that?
Right,
again, my sister owns it.
Oh, okay. Now, could she or you? This is a serious question. Like, be busted? I mean, is this all I'm not up on what the current law is.
She could be busted by federal agents.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I would just lose my job. But only federal agents. No state police can do anything. So, yeah.
It's up on the law.
So did you just sell her up the river here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
all the federal agents listening to
fans of the podcast.
She has a
Wait a minute, Joe.
She has a California
Going on in
state business
California.
license. She's legit.
Run Gallegos through the computer.
They pay taxes and all that business. So
yeah,
the government's getting their cut.
Yeah.
All right, so on to something other than.
What up, Ryan?
Yeah.
Huh?
How are you, Ryan?
What's up with Lost?
I'm all right.
What's up with Lost, Ryan?
Are we going to do the Lost spoilers early in the show? Just to mix things
Crispin,
up?
you watch the show?
Oh, yeah, I watched Lost.
Ryan's our resident expert.
I know.
Do you have any questions for Ryan?
Ask Ryan.
Who's in the coffin?
Oh, I have a theory about that.
He does. Okay.
It's different than
Crispin
the last
totally
theory?
didn't know I had a theory about this before he asked. That was
Okay.
coincidence.
So there have been a few cranky messages
That's a lost-like
online
coincidence.
about our Lost spoilers.
So wait, so I've decided.
But this is a theory. It's not.
Right.
Hold on,
So
this
just
is
ahead of
theory.
time, know that this is only theory. It's coming right out of Ryan's brain, which is not reliable. So if he says this stuff now, don't be mad because it's not something that's actually going to happen on the show because his theories are always
This
fucking
is
crackpot.
totally gonna happen. Okay. No, wait till you hear this. Okay.
Okay.
So as we know, Jack attended a mystery person's funeral in his flash forward at the end of season 3.
Yes, we
Right.
all
No
we
one
all know
knows
that.
who's in the coffin.
Right.
So,
Not even the writers.
I've read my share.
Is this a Time Life book series from the 80s?
I've read my share of crazy internet theories that make no sense.
So here's another
So
one.
I decided I was going to make up my own crazy internet theory.
Cool.
Okay, so I'm gonna say that Jack is in the coffin. There you go.
Jack was at his own
What?
funeral.
Yeah, Jack was in the coffin.
Whoa.
I'm going to the internet with this
Dude,
one.
you're... Wow.
This is the problem with this show. After having watched
That's
the
plausible,
last 2
actually.
episodes-
Actually, I know. I'm not disputing you. That could be.
Well, in addition to running with the whole introduce 3 more questions every time you answer a single question thing, it's now gotten so beyond the point of anyone. It reminds me of a Jeff Loeb comic. He wrote Batman, The Long Halloween, and Batman.
Isn't he a
Hush.
writer on the show?
Yes.
Yeah, I think he is. It's
Creative
probably
director, I
that's
believe.
not a good sign at all because this guy writes these books where they're mystery stories, and the whole thing is that you start off, you're like, okay, I'm going to pay attention to every detail and see if I can sleuth my way through this, but of course you never can because no one could have. They introduced it's oh, none of the evidence had to do with any the real culprit had nothing to do with any of the story up until this final issue of the thing, and I mean, it's reminding
Just
me of
all
that.
red herrings.
It's yeah. So I've gotten to the point where I've just given up on theories. I don't think any more lost
I
theories
kinda
are
have
coming
too.
from
I
my
mean,
brain.
long time ago.
Actually, I don't think it makes sense it would be Jack, because Jack was like there was a newspaper article that was what how he found out about it.
It was alternate timeline, Jack.
Yeah, but
Well, they could just do it, and then everyone will be like, "Whoa!" And then the writers will figure out what to do next season. So they have like
I
all this
guess.
off time to figure it out.
you think that's what we're going to see at the end of this season?
I don't
Jack,
know. I'm just
like
making,
looking down at his own body in his coffin.
I'm just making
That
this
would have
up.
been a weird reaction for Kate. Like, why would you go to your own funeral? I mean, she was so like blasé about it.
To me, it makes sense if it's Michael, because Michael's the one who like can't die, right? Like he tried to kill himself. They tried to kill him, but it's like now he's like in this last episode, he's going to fulfill whatever his bargain. He's going to like save the Oceanic Six. And
That's why I don't
the
think
island
it's
is going to
Michael.
let him die now.
The reason I don't think it's Michael is because of what Sean said. Like, the clues are too obvious for it to be Michael. Like, they've laid the trail that it's Michael, so that means they have something completely that has nothing to do with that.
I think that Ryan is probably Anthony's biggest customer.
Honestly, I thought the show was just about people like surviving on an island, spearing crabs and shit. I've never seen it.
No,
I had no
But
idea.
it was like
you guys
that
start
plus
saying
Twilight Zone. and-
exactly. You guys
yeah.
start saying alternate timelines and
when
stuff
I
like that. And
said the Time Life books, that was like it's probably a little too old for you, but well, I mean it's like early '80s, right? You
Tell
probably
us,
weren't-
Grandpa, about
That
Time
was
Life.
before that,
It's in
dude.
Crispin and Jeff and Sean, and you knew me.
I know about
70s
Time
and
But it's like
60s.
it was like books about the occult and shit, and they had these ads
Mysteries
where
of
it'd be
the
like,
Unexplained.
yeah, 3 men enter a shrouded ring of trees. One is mystically levitated 3 feet above the bog surface. Is that coincidence or like supernatural? It's in the book. And then they'd have another one like Barney Pokeep sat on a tech in like whatever in Arkansas, and 300 miles away, his identical twin brother felt a stabbing pain in his rectum. Coincidence?
That's like Ripley's
It's in the
Believe
book,
It or Not
right.
stuff.
You
But
look it
that's
up.
like
at,
lost shit.
you look it up in the book though, and it's like coincidence. Yes, and that's it.
Fooled ya.
Yep, total coincidence.
Now go buy our Wild West books.
There's like a
Sucker.
there's like a definition of Occam's razor, and then like all through the book, it's like work it out yourself.
Gonna
We
start.
just made the commercial. We didn't know people would buy the books.
It's gonna start raining frogs.
So to throw in some game stuff before
Yeah.
we get too far along, Age of Conan came out yesterday
Oh, did it just launch yesterday?
in the U.S. Yeah, they some
Ah,
people were
okay.
playing it before that because they paid
Oh, there was like a pre
$5.
right
Yeah,
to get a head start.
and they made good use of that because I'm in a PvP server and there are already quite a few relatively high level players in there to gank us and for us to team up on and feel like we're pulling a David and Goliath maneuver.
How are you feeling about the game so far?
I just
As a non-MMO
first,
guy.
it seems like it's I don't know, but there are a number of servers. All of them are populated. Many of them are heavily populated. I had to wait in order to create an account on Tyranny, which is a PvP server.
free for all PvP.
Yeah, free for all PvP. And then when you get in, there's just a ton of stuff going on. And I only played until like I got like level 7 or so. And what pissed me off immediately, here I go already into the bad stuff, is that we figured out that we were going around and we were trying to do the quests, multiplayer quests, and it just wasn't working. Like all the enemies were like level 10 to 15, and even as a group, we just couldn't kill them effectively without dying ourselves over and over again. And so Rory and Duncan and other people in our Ventrilo server who had played both the beta and had the early access were like, you got to just do the night missions. And in this game, they separate single from multiplayer, as day being multiplayer and night being instant solo missions.
Right.
And that was the last thing I was willing to do. It was like the game is like marginally interesting as a multiplayer game, and it's like entirely for me based on the social experience. And for me to go and play that on my own time, like no thanks. So I turned it off. I had a review game to play as well.
Well, you can level up in the multiplayer, right?
Well, that's what he's saying is you apparently
You can't? Or can
you
you? or is it
probably
just
could
slower?
brute force it, but it's very difficult to the point that
Okay.
like we're doing like these beginning missions that you're acquiring as a level, at level 5 or 6 it is you get out of the training mode, and
Right.
you can pick up some quests, and those ones were just like prohibitively difficult. And then we didn't necessarily help ourselves because in this PvP free-for-all server, you go to White Sands as one of these first areas, and everyone there, that's like free-for-all.
When
And
you say
we're-
free for all, do you mean that there's no like factions?
Yeah,
or anything?
your own race can attack your own
Holy
race.
crap! Okay.
So what that means is as soon as you appear, anytime you see someone, you make eye contact, they fight you. They start, they're attacking
Hey,
you.
it's barbarians.
And this will, I hear that this is fairly normal for any free-for-all PvP game in the early months following release. And what happens is things settle down, and then you have coalitions and alliances, and that's going to be interesting. But right now, it's like fucking like betas, fighting fish or something, and you throw us all in the tank, and it's just like you look at the stats, see if it's a fight you want, but there's always going to be someone that's in there stronger than you attacking you. But it was kind of fun even in that stage because we got like, I'm an assassin, so I can cloak and do these backstab attacks for critical damage, and Rory gave me this buff that like made it even more powerful. So we'd wait and watch these guys. We'd go invisible as soon as you spawn in this thing, you cloak. Because that's how quick you're going to die if you don't.
Are there like known spawn points?
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
So are people waiting at those?
Yeah, and the thing is that we're trying to level, not because I care about the quests. I think they're the same as ever. They're boring and they're just. And a lot of people differ. This is what I wanted to bring down in preparation. Julian Murdoch's been playing a lot, and he wrote a story on Gamers with Jobs, and it's about how much he loves the combat and stuff. And it's like I wanted to present that as an informed counterpoint to my own perspective because I think he makes a perfect case for himself. But so let me go back a minute and finish that story. So we'd cloak and then we'd go and hide in the bushes. We'd wait for a high level player to get in a combat scenario with a mob, and then it's like okay, then I sneak up and stab him in the back because he's fighting like a whole bunch of like crocodiles, and then everyone else it's like blowing the conch or something in Lord of the Rings, and then Lord of the Flies, and then everyone comes running out of the bushes and we all like beat on him, and even though we're all weak enough, there's enough of us where we can like overtake him, and then we kill him and he'll just spawn again and come right back for us. But it's like we felt good about it and we cloak again. But the idea is that we wanted to level up so we can go to these points like islands where people have to get to, where there's pinch points or bridges over lava, and then we become toll keepers and we demand like we want to collect loincloths. So it's like you can pass this bridge if you give me your loincloth. And like that's all beginning players have in the game. And so, but unfortunately you can't drop loot in. You can get rid of items that you own, but you can't have them appear in the world because otherwise we could just build a giant like stack of loincloths at the side of the bridge and people would know.
Right, it probably is destroyed right as soon as they drop it.
Right, and that's to prevent people from doing like the whole raining dildos thing in Second Life. Just putting too many physical objects in the server.
Mm-hmm.
I just like the way, just thinking about all the legendary characters and that are in Conan and just how he's like this super badass, and then you play the game and it's like, oh, I got killed. I was fighting a crocodile and a bunch of people would stab me in the back, or I had to give some guy my loincloth. It's like doesn't in no way lives up to the fiction.
Right, Robert E. Howard would be like,
by a
what?
plant.
What's going on here? What happened to my world?
He said, yeah, I have a chick character. And she's like, it looks like a messed up Fraggle or something. I like did everything I could to make it messed up. She's got a shiner, really crazy crooked nose, and a butch haircut. But I have like a cap on that looks like she's wearing the reservoir tip of a condom for a hat. And I don't know, it's pretty sad. But everyone already, as soon as I came in, people are like running up and like laughing at me and stuff.
That's the thing. That's like part of the way you can tell instantly that I knew you weren't in it for the long haul. Because like the rest of us made characters that were like, man, my guy looks badass or whatever, and you were just like.
My guy looks like a
what's your
condom.
character's name? Obija, probably, or something like that. Yeah.
I could make her that morbidly obese. She's pretty muscular. Like it still turns me on. Like you can climb in this game, and like I'll take a look. Like I'll move the camera beneath her when I'm climbing. Just playing.
I don't know. You said it out loud. It kind of means he thought of it.
Serious.
It's that nighttime solo game that's prohibiting you from playing more. That's preventing me kind of from playing again because I made a beta character and went through all of that already. And the thought of doing it again, and it's so long.
Here's what I'm wondering about this game, and I just don't know the answer, is that if you do create alts now, once you've made it through that first level, that first 20 levels of the single-player stuff, do you have to do it again every time you create a new character?
Right now, yeah.
In the same zone?
Well, every
There's
time,
not even another place?
As far as I know, every new character you create, you have to, like, you have to go through the beginning game quest every time. Right. Which is like you start on a boat and the boat wrecks.
And does it matter what character?
I guess it's
race
slightly.
You are? Is it all the same?
I think it's slightly. I heard it's slightly different for healers versus like mages. There's a couple different tweaks to the quest line, but I don't know how.
But you're still everybody. No matter what your alt is, it's going to be in the same city with the same basic
chain of night quests until you can get strong enough to go do these day quests that were.
That is going to get old.
Yeah.
Because
It's prohibitive to alt making.
single
That's for
character.
sure.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah, you can't even get through it the
Stick
first
with
time.
Still, this game makes like the speed of leveling up in WoW look like super slow. Like seriously, like within by the time you reach the first city, you're already like level 6 or something like
Right,
that.
that's as
so
far as I got.
But I don't think it
6
maintains
in WoW
that pace
is
though.
fast.
I don't know. I mean, Duncan and Rory were like staying up till they hit level 40 last night, and they've only been playing for like 3
They
days.
did?
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
they said they weren't going to bed till they hit
Sounds
40
fast.
Those fuckers, man. That's sad.
because they were already like level 28 or something like that.
No sleep until 40.
That's exactly like Duncan basically asked
good
Rory,
to have
Rory
ambition.
if they were going to commit to it. He's like, "I'm ready. Are you?" All right.
Yeah.
Think of the emptiness the moment after.
Maybe last night was my last
They're
game.
like, oh, yeah.
Well, hey, you know,
now you have to catch
Rory's
up.
got an excuse. He's reviewing it, so
Yeah, he has every
that's
reason to.
commitment.
It's that old problem though, you know, like they'll all be ahead of me now, and it's like a good because they will, like if I go back now, they'll be able to help me get through, you know, the stuff that was too hard for us last night, the levels we were. But at the same time, it's like I just get to be the one who hangs around in the back, and I guess it frees me up to type. I can talk shit on people as we do.
You can just be a pet.
I don't know. Like there are definitely good things about it. Like I think the special ability, like powers that you use in that are definitely like not. I mean, they look like WoW in that like you push 7 to like do your character's special ability. But did you see it like how you have to like?
What do you have that's different than my character? Sure didn't have anything different than WoW. But I was
Well,
only
the thing
14.
is that not only do you have to push like the button to like to initiate the power, right? Just like WoW. Okay, I do like a hard slash.
Yep.
But then once you do it, in order for it to actually occur, you have to do a specific combination.
Oh,
of
the
attack
combo
moves.
attacks, right?
Yeah, I thought that was.
My class didn't have any of those.
Okay, well, yeah, mine did. So I thought that
So
was
I picked a boring class.
I thought that was like super cool that I didn't just have to push a button. I actually
to
had
push
to
instead of 3, it's 3-1-4.
I know.
3-1-4.
That's good gaming.
Step backwards.
Your ATM pin.
What this game needs is the Wii remote.
The thing is like so to
real
go back to
badass there in
Julie
front of your PC.
and me, the way we differ is that okay, of course, you know, you have the 1, 2, and 3, and that's the attack from the left, the right, or head on, and they'll have it so that it loosely correlates. Like if you're fighting a panther, head on will be basically its teeth, so it's like it's discouraging you from doing that. You're going to want to attack one of its flanks, but the difference is you're just pressing 1 or 3 instead of 2. Sometimes they will change, and it will sync up, and it like, okay, this makes sense. This guy's holding a shield on his right side. I don't want to hit him over there. Or if he turns, then it will adjust as well.
That's cool.
But when I'm playing, because I mean, we're not taught. Let's not be confused and think we're talking about Ninja Gaiden or Devil May Cry or something where when you hit someone, the animations sync up and they are very clearly getting hit specifically by the move you just performed, and vice versa. Or like a fighting game, it's like it has to me the feel of when kids play guns. You just what do you call it? Just call it guns, and it's like, you're dead. No, you're dead. No, you're dead. And there's a total mismatch between the pantomimes that are going on. And so it's like,
right.
I get that and I can't immerse myself. But for Julian, he was saying that as you go on, for him, being able to dodge because there's evasive maneuvers and stuff, and combining that with the group tactics. So like if he'll go in, do an attack and double tap back to jump out of the fray, and then someone else will come in and then he'll hop back in and do something. For him, he's getting, I hope I'm not misrepresenting his perspective, but it seems like he thinks that as far as MMO comic goes, it's just really fantastic stuff. I haven't got to the point where I'm seeing it as anything more than like what Sean said. Like when you described it, it's like, okay, so I pressed two more number keys.
The thing is,
of,
like I could see it being like in PvP and WoW, I definitely think that takes a lot of skill, but like this, I could see even making it like more gratifying when I manage to pull off my special abilities, because you have to stay close enough to him to pull off those additional attacks to make your power go. And like you said, if everyone's doing like those dodges, like I could see like high skill PvP, being like super gratifying, especially in groups.
It can look though like my fear is like if you have like an improv group and everyone you give them a theme and they're all supposed to be acting out, but it's clear like not just one of the kids is doing his own thing, but all the kids are doing their own thing.
My issue is I can't in my head make that much of a difference between starting a combo and then finishing it up with like the two things it tells you to do, and like using a warlock's powers to put a curse of shadows on to first drop his shadow resistance, then putting a dot, and then doing your shadow weaving with your priest.
Right.
It's just there's still this certain order of things that has to occur to get your maximum damage output, and to me it's just not that different.
We're talking about the Time Life book series again. Shadow weaving.
There's a
I
few,
need to stack 5 shadow weaving. Yeah.
There's a few like weird little things that trouble me about that game.
Mhm.
Like,
Whoa.
there.
And those are.
Let me just clear my throat. There's no log out button. There's just like exit game. You can't like log out to the character select screen.
Really?
Yeah. Which, you know, you might think, well, that's dumb.
Even
That's
like if you're in a city or something like that. I don't know. I guess.
mean, if you hit escape, there's no option to just log out.
Huh.
It's just
And
exit game.
It's just like it doesn't really make that big of a difference, but it's like this is like this one of these little basic things that like why doesn't this game have this?
On the Ryan
You know.
Scott review scale of hell yeah and what the hell, it nudges it ever closer to the what the hell.
Sorta.
Right now, is it a hell yeah or what the hell? Or is it right in the middle?
It's like okay.
Yeah,
Some of the-
I mean, I don't. I
Okay,
can't
what the
picture
hell,
you
yeah.
playing it.
And
Why the hell not?
and
We
you
need
also only
more
get
granularity in
you
the
only
scale.
get 8 character slots.
Why the hell not?
Period.
Yeah, that's rent.
Oh, for all
What?
servers?
8,
Oh.
8 character slots. Period.
Whoa.
Oh, across
Yeah.
all servers.
Yeah.
That's weird.
It's not like 8 for
Maybe they're
servers,
doing you a
just 8.
favor so you don't have to like do those first
But-
fucking 20 levels
but I
over
can't-
more
I
than
can't
8
also,
times.
Never.
So, because I noticed that you pick your character and then you click on like a server or something like that, like or
Yeah.
that you can see them both. But I can't make my character go on any server though, right?
No,
He is
your
bound to
character
a
is
server.
handcuffed to the server you make them on.
Well, that's
yeah.
the same on any.
But
But I'm just
MMO.
saying the fact that I
It's
can only have 8.
strange that
That's-
you only have
Yeah.
8 character slots total.
Who would have more?
I
though?
know. I can't imagine.
Insane.
there are people in my WoW guild that have way more than that, but
I know lots of
I
people.
would never do
complaining
that.
it's like complaining you only have to grind for 600 hours when you like.
Yeah, I just know people that
when
had
you should
friends
be
on
able
a
to
lot of
grind for
different
2
servers,
years.
so they had like a character on a bunch of different servers, way more than 8. So
I don't have that many friends.
People like to just like try new ones out.
But
For-
8
that's
is not
also-
enough.
Yeah,
And
if
we're
you hate it,
saying
you
like
delete
the
it. 8 is punky.
investment,
I don't know
the
why I'm
investment to
defending
get
that.
any
Yeah.
character to the point where you have I think a clean sense of how they function.
yeah, but at that
and
point,
how
even if you
rewarding
hate
they
them,
might
you don't
be.
want to delete them because you put all that time
Yeah,
into
you
it.
might-
Just sell it.
They might change it. There's always that like vague. What if they make this character awesome in a
Awesome,
patch
yeah.
coming up? So then I want to hold on to him. It's weird. Yeah, 8. It's weird because there's more than 8 classes, so you can't even theoretically on one account try
Right.
everything
Mm-hmm.
unless you delete them.
Brian, are you going to join our? Oh, you are going to join our thing, and because Rory and them, I was like, "What's up with this stuff?" And they're like, "They're reserving some clan name for you."
Yeah. Our usual guild name.
Okay.
I wanted to get it reserved.
And then,
Oh, so they started a guild basically for you.
They are saving the name for
Wow.
me. Yeah.
what is that name?
The Kindred.
Are
It's
you
been-
like the king of the kindred?
I am not.
Oh.
I'm not. It's been the guild that I've been in ever since UO. We always, every game me and my buddy go to, we will make the guild. You know.
They were bummed because they wanted their name was Peen Orange,
Well, no, they can.
and Peen Orange is the name of like. There's that.
I bet that
photo
one's not taken when they
on the
want it back.
internet of an apparent like freak with a real doll, and he's wearing all orange, and that Peen Orange is just the color of his
Well, they
ensemble.
can. They can start their own. I'll level up and
You'll
get it
save
from
that
them.
one for
Oh,
him.
you just reminded
But
me of the LOL news story of the week. The guy with the gamer tag.
Oh,
Who got banned.
what was his name again?
His name was
Something Gaywood.
Dick Gaywood, and he got a notice from Xbox Live from Microsoft that his name was banned because it was offensive. That was his gamer tag, but that
his
was
name.
his real name, was Richard Gaywood. And so Kotaku reported on the story. It's the epilogue is sort of what made me laugh more was, I mean, that story's sort of funny in a 7th grade way, but what was great was in the comments to the Kotaku story, people were just like, "There's no way this guy's name was Richard Gaywood. Come on, it's just not possible." Well, the Richard Gaywood showed up on the thread. Because he was actually the one who gave Kotaku the news story in the first place. So he showed up in this thread, and then he posted like a photo of his driver's license, showing that he's Richard Gaywood. I mean, he blocked out his image and his address, obviously. And it just turned into a really funny conversation. If you go there, people are just like, "Dude, what's up with your parents calling you Richard? Why'd they name you that? Last name of Gaywood?" He's like, "Yeah, I guess they kind of hated me." So anyway, just a funny thread.
But it's like, why would you make? That's the guy's name, whatever. But it's like, I could see Microsoft going like, "Whoa, what's this?" I mean, you use that
Why?
for your gamer tag. I don't like.
This
I could see them.
this happens in WoW too, because I mean we've had
because people do all kinds of crazy things.
Yeah, but
on-
is that
with
like
character
Xbox Live.
names.
not permissible though?
It's weird to have your gamer tag be your whole full name, though.
Well, that's weird. I mean,
Which is why I could see them going
And when
like,
your name
"Oh,
is
ha,
that."
ha, let's change."
He's
this
embracing
because
his name.
it seems like something they should have investigated before just banning.
Right.
Like, okay, is that really your
I
name?
don't know,
Why
it's
don't we
probably-
check your credit
probably
card?
a
Probably like
robot.
yeah, it's exactly an automated program that's
that's
just
true.
like, oh, you have the word gay would in one thing, like too close.
Right, like you
Banned.
can't. It is really weird. Like you can't even have fart in. Like it gets
Right.
censored out of chat company heroes.
All I can think about ever since I read that story is just being him on like the first day of class every year in school, and the teacher reading the names on the roster. You know, the first day, Gaywood, Richard, and having every fucking kid in class
Slowly
laugh.
puts his hand up.
I remember
I
seeing
would
it.
Maybe it
my
just
name.
meant happy when he was a youth.
I remember seeing a credit card in
be
the
right.
grocery store where the guy's last name was Nano Mantube. I think it was like Indian or something, but yeah.
Well, of course, then on the thread, everybody went up there with, well, when I was a kid, I knew a kid named, like, one of them was like Dick Holder. Last name Holder.
No.
So everybody had another story like that.
Yeah.
Well, then there's
And
like
they're all made up.
Harry McCracken, right?
Right.
I mean, that's a real name for
Right, that's the real
Well,
name.
there was a girl at my school.
like
I
no
told
offense to. I mean, but it's one of those names that like if you maybe someone's automated censorship program will not
Well,
like that.
Our friend Dana Jungaward, she claims, and I don't believe her to this day, that there was a girl at her school growing up with the first name Fonda, like Jane Fonda, and the last name Dix, Dix, Fonda Dix. And I just, I don't believe it.
That's a stretch.
What parent would name their daughter that?
Dude, there was a girl.
Have you meet my daughter? She's Fonda Dix. Well, I'm pleased to meet her. What a coincidence. I have one.
I had a customer at Sam Goody when I worked there who named her son Gandalf.
Really?
That should be.
Well, there's a
banned.
that's not good.
former EGM staffer who named his son Anakin,
Nice.
Really?
and this is before.
Tell us who.
His name was John Gurka,
Okay. I don't know
but
who
this was
that is.
before
he the
episode
one?
1 came out and
Oh, yeah.
was
Oh.
universally derided. So I don't know if
That's
he.
got to be painful now.
A name change.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe a name changes.
There was a very, very large girl at my high school named. Her first name was Princess, literally, and her last name was Thickening. Princess.
Come on.
Thickening. I am dead serious. I will bring my fucking yearbook and show you a photo of Princess Thickening. Yes.
God.
Could contend with.
That's got to be
bottlenecks,
Sean's
picture.
new name, character name, Princess Thickening. That could replace Obija.
That's not the same. Her name would have had to have been Obija.
On a
Tremendo.
on a side note that I wanted to actually ask, like, to Ryan, like as far as like Conan goes, does it at all bother you how like noob friendly Conan is? That actually bothers me to a certain extent. How there's like zero penalty for dying.
I
that
only
you spawn
played
with
to,
all
like,
your equipment.
I'm still in the newbie area.
Oh, you
There's zero
It stops at level 10. Though.
Wait, and after level 10, is there still no penalty?
as far as I know,
I
there's,
heard there's a penalty after 10.
Oh, is
10
there?
is a
That's what
penalty,
Rory
yeah.
and Duncan.
Oh,
You leave
okay,
a little
good.
tombstone marker where you died, and then you get a debuff that like lowers your damage and
Okay,
stamina
good,
and stuff
'cause I was
until
gonna
you
say, I
go
was
find
like-
your tombstone marker. And you can actually drop like 10
You
tombstone
didn't even have to do a
markers.
corpse run or anything, and I was like, wow, I don't know. I just, to some extent, I kind of miss the days of EverQuest when I could be overburdened or like take ridiculous fall damage or not have a map to tell me how to get places. I gotta be.
You would never, though. You
Well,
would,
have fun with all that.
the way that things are, yeah, you would
I'm
never
glad
get
those
anywhere.
days are over.
You'd be killed, and you'd be killed on your way to your corpse run, and you'd be killed, and there would be like until you had like an ant trail of corpses.
Yeah.
Exactly, because you had to pick up your
Totally.
equipment
I mean,
off your
we've said
corpses.
this before. I do miss the fear of the unknown that kind of came with EverQuest because you
Yep.
just had no clue what was over there, and you could feasibly lose everything you had. So there
Yes, you
that did
could.
have that.
It
But
it would be a very tense.
I think the
gameplay
alternative,
experience.
today's alternative, is much better.
Yeah.
It still exists to an extent where like what Rory and Duncan are already doing, where they're going into some, an area where they know most people have some quest, and then they wait at a certain point in it after the people felt like they've accomplished a considerable amount, and then they jump on them.
I know. I
That's
think that's the
probably-
part that I'm looking forward to.
But that's probably common across WoW servers. I mean, that's how I got ganked so often in WoW on PvP servers was while I was in the middle of a quest. And these fucking jerks would come up while I was too busy fighting other things, and my health was down by like 2/3, and then they'd kill me.
Anyway.
But the
Oh,
part-
great, thanks.
Part of
That's
that is
awesome.
part of that is design, though. I mean, Blizzard definitely did design some quests so that they would overlap and force you guys to fight.
Oh, sure,
for
the
the same
contested
boss.
territories.
Yeah.
That's cool though. That's like the only
yeah.
interesting thing about these.
The
things
advantage
to me.
Conan has is you can talk to the people you're fighting.
Oh, wow.
That's true.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
Wow, you can't.
But you
in
can't.
WoW.
All you
But
could do
you
is
have to
emote
type
on them.
though.
But still,
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
But yeah, well, when you're
In
dude,
WoW, you can't even
the
type.
battle's decided in like 30 seconds in most of
well,
these
but
cases.
in WoW, you
You're
can
gonna
never
stop
type.
and
You
type.
can't send them a tell. Or
I know,
anything.
but listen, let me finish.
Yeah, but Sean-
thought, dude, it doesn't. So, like, even if you can talk, if you lose the battle, if you go to type, you will lose unless you have a disparity between your levels, like about 10 or more. Because even when we went up against his level 6s and we're in battles with like 18s, we would be able to kill them as a group within 30 seconds.
But then after you could type, haha, I pwned you.
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
that's more what that's for.
But then he's already.
You could clown
It's
on.
already pwned.
The typing is good, I think, for prior to the battle, when you can
Right.
establish terms.
Right.
Like
or
loincloth.
Exactly.
yeah, the
Parlays.
loincloth.
What would be great is if it was like Xbox Live and you could like talk to them,
Right.
like over speakers. Fuck you, jerk!
Like,
Yeah, in,
That would
in
make
World
it
of
the best
Warcraft,
game
you couldn't do your loincloth thing because the Horde couldn't talk
you
to
can't
the Alliance.
communicate, right?
Right.
yeah.
And maybe you could, but they would have no idea what you're
We-
saying, and then you'd kill them.
And just like people
I just wanted
hazing,
your
it's like
loincloth.
that's right. You keep looking down and walk on by, like that kind of. Like I want to see that kind of random shit emerge. You know,
We yesterday when we were all playing Age of Conan, we did have a moment where we all laughed at Sean in like a make fun of him sort of way, but in the end we were only really making fun of ourselves because like
after I logged off,
no, because when Sean went to like hit escape, he was like, "How come it didn't pause the game?" And we were like, and Duncan like just went, "It's an MMO, Sean," and Sean was like, "But I'm in an instance," and like I just remember everyone laughed like, "Ha ha ha!" He doesn't know that it doesn't pause an instance, and then I was like,
but it wasn't just
but I
an
was like-
instance; it was a single player instance.
So that's what I'm saying. But at the same time, like even though we were like, "Haha, what an idiot," we were like, "Wait, but we're making fun of you for that."
I know.
Therefore, making fun of
My
ourselves.
bad.
Yeah.
That's the irony. Age of Conan.
We all learned something.
Did you really though?
Are
You
you?
learned
How
this
would you? How excited are you to play the game now?
I might come over and see Obisia. Sounds pretty hot.
That's not
not much
doesn't
to
sound
say.
very
Have you ever
committed.
played an MMO?
I played Ultima Online a long time ago, just for a little while with a friend of mine, because he lived like back in Florida, and we were just walking around this world, and we came into this house, and it was full. It was filled wall to wall with dudes, and it was weird. They were all like, it was some kind of. I don't know what was going on. If someone was like storing characters, I had no idea. It was all a new world to me. But they were all like doing their walk animation in place in this house, and we were just like, "What the hell's going on?"
Did you set it on
Sounds
fire?
about
Did
right.
you ever figure out what was going on?
No,
It's people macroing.
it scared me. Yeah, it scared me away from MMOs for life. But I do remember I liked in that game if you took your shoes off and walked away, it looked like you took a dump. So I enjoyed that too. We put,
Unfortunately, they updated the graphics.
That was your trademark.
I'm sure that was
Who
in there.
takes off his shoes and walks away?
I'm sure that was in Richard Garrett's design document. Now what we got to do here is take off the shoes.
I didn't know he was such a hayseed.
He is in my imitation of him. Yeah.
He's like an astronaut.
Well, he thinks. So, Ryan, did you have other did you have other points about what you're not liking? Because I think all you mentioned was the pause or the log
Log
off
out thing.
screen.
There's that. There was the 8 character slots.
Oh, right.
What else was I gonna say?
What do you like?
The melee combat seems more engaging than your typical.
Okay, so
MMO.
pros melee combat.
Yeah.
Final score.
I really did feel I made a mistake making
8.84.
such a caster type in this game. Like I normally that's what I flock to all the time, but
They're
after
in high demand in the PvP servers.
I bet they are they're
water
comparatively boring.
Water is the means of escape for in most times when someone's
Whoa.
ganging up on you. And
It's
if
heavy.
they're largely melee, you jump in the water and they can't do anything.
Oh,
But
do
if
they
you're
have a swim speed
spellcaster,
buff or something?
You just tread in water and they can't do
you
shit.
just go out and wait in
Really?
the water. So there's always a bunch of people hanging out in the water.
Hey,
Like a public pool.
But if you have
I
range,
think I'll stay in a while.
if you have range, then you can just like
people
keep
pacing
hitting them.
angrily on the shore.
And they have to go out
Ah.
deeper and dive under. So
Okay.
it's great. Like if you could be the one that finishes, like when you see everyone running for the beach, it's like inverse Jaws. You see everyone running for the beach, you can just sit there and hit them in the ass with your fireballs and stuff, and hopefully kill them.
But aren't there beasts in the water that'll eat you?
No, in fact, the crocodiles won't chase you in the water. It's
They won't?
in the magical world of Conan. Yeah, the
Maybe that's in the lore.
Yeah. I mean, is there alligators? Is that what that means? I don't know.
I don't know.
It also seems like
Stalactites?
the launch isn't going so smooth.
It's not going so
Why don't you
smooth.
do some show and tell?
They do sort of the Ultima Online thing with their downtime. Like you'll see in like the server status forum,
Yeah.
They're like, the servers are going to be down for 5 hours. And then 5 hours later, it's like, we need another hour. And then we need another hour. And then we need another hour.
Early days.
But
Give them, like, it hasn't even been a week. I'd say, at least a few day grace period for them to iron the kinks out. And then we can start ragging on them for that.
people have been making MMOs for 10 years. They shouldn't have.
In theory, it should be perfect. They never are. WoW certainly was not. WoW was a mess.
Well, I mean, not like
Burning
7
Crusade was
hours at
first
a
week.
time, sort of.
It's down today.
problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is down today?
Mhm.
Right.
Oh,
Are they
that
planning to
that ain't good.
comp you any time for that? Usually, that's what the end result is. Like,
That's what
give
the
you a
smart,
day or two
the smart
extra.
companies will comp.
Blizzard's the only
time.
company I've ever seen do that.
Really?
Before we
In the MMOs I've played.
move on to Crispin's show and tell item.
Yes.
So I'll say like
Oh, I'm
we'll have to
excited.
wait till next week. I actually have been playing a lot of other games. I know Sean saw some too, but they're all like embargo things. So it's like Dawn of War 2. We'll be able to talk about next week. Stalker Clear Sky, which looked really really cool. Same there. Been playing Battlefield Bad Company.
Can you say whether Dawn of War 2 looked cool or not? Is that
I'm sure I
breaking
can.
your
Yeah, it looked really cool to me. I'm now very excited for it. But and with that out of the way, Crispin has got trying to get people to
What's our show and
anticipate
tell
for it.
music?
I didn't even know about this segment.
What did you bring?
I just brought it. Well, at EGM, we recently moved to a different part of the office. We had to clean out a lot of cabinets. And there's been like a long history, and I think especially between Sean and I, making fun of peripherals that actually add more work than what they're supposed to do. Like, and they all seem to revolve around the Game Boy family of portables. There was like that thing that you could hook it up and put 3 cartridges in, but it was like the size of 20 cartridges.
Yeah. The
switch
changer, the cartridge changer.
Yeah, the cartridge changer. And then there was something called the Game Chamber, which you could use to hold your DS games. And DS games are about the size of your thumbnail. And this thing was about as big as like a tape measure. It was huge.
It's like, or like if you get like a catering thing of like shrimp cocktail, with the cocktail sauce in the middle and the shrimps all around it.
Mm-hmm.
This is about as big as maybe.
It's about as big as a sombrero. It held 6 DS games, and you can only take out one if you put one in. So if you lost a game, you had like 5 games locked forever in the game chamber. And I guess you send it back to them, and they would extract the games from your.
Are
game
you
chamber.
serious?
I'm serious.
This is real.
So this thing would only work if you had 6 DS games?
Yeah, it
What
came
if
with.
you had 7?
You have to buy another game chamber.
My God. Then you'd have to buy 6 more games after that.
Exactly.
Or 5 more games.
It's like Xbox
oh my
Live,
God.
Live points,
It
like
came-
Microsoft Money or whatever. When you're trying to buy a downloadable game,
No, I have 20 left.
It came with little plastic things that were the size of DS games that you could put
Oh, I
in to
see.
make up for the empty slots.
I see.
But if you
Okay.
lost any of those, you were fucked.
Wow.
So I found this thing looking through. It's got really nice packaging. It's called the battery pack.
but it's PAK, so it's something special, and that's trademarked.
It is trademarked. And if
Note,
you-
note that it also has the innovation seal of quality, which is a seal balancing
a clip art seal.
And it's made by
all on its
bestowed by the
nose.
company.
it's
that
made by
made it.
yeah by the company. that
We
made
have
the thing.
we have bestowed this seal upon it. Yeah.
This looks like it could have been anything in the Dollar General, like a box of Nag Champa incense or anything. Soap.
Okay, so what is
So
it?
it's a battery pack for the
Yeah.
original Game Boy. This is like
Oh
the one
my
that came out
God,
in
look at that
'89.
thing.
So the original Game Boy took like 4 AAAs. How much do you think a AAA weighs? I don't know. It's like a few ounces.
Right.
This thing, it probably is almost a pound of plastic that you set your Game Boy in.
Oh my God.
And
Wow.
And it extends it by a good 4 inches.
How long does it extend the battery life?
well, it's rechargeable. I think it probably lasts about an hour, but it's rechargeable. So you could actually
over 500 times too.
yeah. And we haven't used it once, so we're still at the beginning of this thing's life.
Oh wow. For the original Game Boy.
For the original
That thing
Game Boy,
is
right?
huge.
And yeah, it doesn't do anything else. It just is a giant battery that hooks to your Game Boy. There was a lot of other crap for the Game Boy that would add like fold-out speakers and
Magnifying
Magnifying
glass that you hang
glasses.
over the front. That was the best.
I know. I
With a light-
saw
yeah,
a guy just
an
a couple
external
weeks
light
ago.
source.
I was at a park in the East Bay, and you had to go through like an entrance. It was like a pay, park, regional park, and the guy at the booth was playing an original Game Boy. So maybe he would actually like the pack.
Was he homeless?
Oh,
No, he was like the guy manning the booth. He was like some kid who's like summer job or whatever, or not summer.
He was
whatever
playing
job.
like the Game Boy, the black and white one.
the old
looked like a
first
diet
generation
pencil
Game Boy.
diarrhea.
And I said he had no sense of humor too, because I like walked in and I go like, "Ha, that's awesome," and he just looked at me like, "What?" Like, what's your fucking problem? Like, come on, that's an object of ridicule, dude.
We got in the video that we're putting up for the podcast blog. It starts off with the shot of this postcard from where is that, Crispin? Preston,
Patterson, California.
Patterson, California. And the beautiful thing is that Michael Donahoe was at some gas station in a town called Patterson, and all the town was, it was like
A way station.
Yeah, like one of those many on Interstate 5 in Central California where they have a Jack in the Box, like a BP gas station, and maybe like a Best Western, and that's really it. So the postcard, it had cells, and it was it was broken up into pictures of the town and the panorama, but it like had the same Jack in the Box twice because there were so
That's all
few
there
things
is.
to show except an empty field and
Oh,
the Jack in the
God.
Box.
I've
And
been
then
to Patterson. It's on 5?
Was,
Yeah.
was it a joke? Like, were they making? did
no,
they
it was
know?
not a joke.
Well, you got to think it was, but when Michael bought him, he bought 2 of them, and he was like all happy and pleased. He thought it was so awesome, and he said the clerk was not amused.
Really?
It's like, that's his town, man. You don't make
town.
fun of my town. And it had a big misspelling on the back too. It said it was the
Oh no.
the artichoke
world.
capital of the world, but world was spelled WROLD.
Rolled.
Maybe it was all a joke.
You could, well, that was the connection. Is that the fact that like when he described it to me, he was probably already in the point when he was embellishing his story, getting more mileage out of it in the retelling, and it was like that. He went up to the counter and was laughing, and he put the card up to the guy, and the guy was just like that's what he was not amused about. So it's like
Was he playing on an old Game Boy?
that's the equivalent.
But maybe
of it, man.
like the
Sometimes
whole
you gotta be
town like
careful what you
laughed
laugh at.
after Donahoe drove off. They all laughed. He bought one of those. The joke was on Donahoe.
I don't know. There's something about it. The text that they have describing the town, it seemed pretty sincere.
Yeah.
I think it's
So
sincere.
there might be listeners from Patterson right now. If there are,
Patterson's the population's 6, dude.
you never know.
There probably isn't a listener.
I was at this Ziff Summit yesterday up in Napa, and we were at this bogus fake castle, and they served us wine, and the wine guy recognized me, the wine server.
Whoa.
Recognized me. Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Even though you're not the dean?
No, I wasn't the dean. Yeah, but he did ask if I wrote for EGM. That was close enough. Close enough.
You'll take it?
That was nice.
There was
I
a lot
did.
of
I took
context
it.
there
I
for
took
him.
it.
You do write for EGM now.
I do.
Yeah. That was rad. He's like, dude, I know you. And you're like, oh, yeah, cool. And he's like, you're not going to break up the Fantastic Four, are you? Or something
What
like
are you
that.
saying?
Sorry. He thought you were Richard Reed or something. Or whoever that other guy is that, like,
No, they
tennis
think I'm
player.
Nick Furry.
Yeah.
I think Jeff looks more like Scott Bakula.
I get that too sometimes. Yeah, that beats Herman Munster because that's like,
Oh, God.
that's the other one I get. And a guy said that to me on email, and I was like, "Gee, thanks a lot." And
Thanks.
he's like, "What?
Yeah.
What do you mean
Not
what?
Herman
flattering.
You
Munster.
compared me to
Yeah.
like some like 60-year-old monster."
Didn't he have, like, a round face?
Yeah, he did.
And, like...
Oh,
like,
Walter Matthau's the other one I got one time.
Oh,
Oh my
man.
God.
Oh, God, dude.
Thanks.
Jack Lemmon. Random-ass old people.
Move on from who I look like.
Are we going to put a picture of this? Is it the battery pack,
Yeah,
or
let's
battery
put
the
that-
pack?
let's
I can't
put that
really
on
tell
the
by
blog,
the logo.
Oh, I wish we'd worked it into this interpretive dance movie thing.
Yeah.
It could have just
So is
rained.
it the pack or the battery
The
pack?
battery pack. The battery word battery kind of disappears from the font.
See, yeah, I thought it was battery the pack.
You know what hasn't gotten enough like shit is our like Xbox 360 faceplates. Remember when that was like this
Oh, yeah.
advertised aspect of the platform when it came out?
Faux,
And then now-
faux wood.
It's exactly
Finish.
all it's there for is so that like Mad Cats and Nyko or whatever
Well,
can recycle some more of their like Aquafina bottles into
That and-
something you can pay for.
that and so that they can give you like an excuse to pre-order a bunch of games. It's like the
Yeah.
add-on
It is a
for every pre-order.
pack-in, yeah.
Well, you laugh, but Dan Shu, former editorial director, has a collection of them.
Does
But
he?
On display.
I'm sure
Is it
he.
a sincere collection? Like
It's
really?
it's a sincere collection, but this because we all work at a place where these things are falling from the sky. So
Right.
it's not like you have to work hard to have a collection of them.
Those things just happen though. Like I'm sure Jeff's daughter's got an equivalent where someone in the family gets a kid like a stuffed hippopotamus, And then someone's like, "Oh, she's into stuffed hippopotamuses."
Oh, yeah.
And then like 5 years later, they got this enormous collection of stuffed hippopotamuses. And you're like, "So what is it you like about hippopotamuses?"
That kind of happened to us. We had like
really like 'em.
You're right.
we had like little rubber pigs or something on our on our mirror in the bathroom. So all this pig shit started showing up.
I hope not
It's like
literally. Pig
No.
shit.
Okay. That was different.
Sean and Keith like pig shit.
That day was bad.
Send him a box.
It's like, here's a pig puppet. You like pigs, right? Like, not really.
Crispin was that way with manatees.
Oh, well, my ex-girlfriend was, and I had manatee shit hanging up. And once we broke up and she moved out, I just kind of left it hanging up, and I just kind of forgot about it because it's on your walls and you don't really think about it. And then I started seeing other people, and now I have another new girlfriend. And she's like, finally, she's asking me like, "What's with all these manatees everywhere?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I guess."
You needed to make something up there.
Sailors used to think they were
I'm
mermaids.
Mr. Manatee. It's like your secret hero. I didn't.
You have Wyland paintings up?
Yeah, I think we probably did at one point or another.
You did.
Yeah, you should.
Anyways,
Enough about that.
Yeah.
But also, like, your version was like, pirates for some time. But I think now it's just the trash can. It's like if you have anything you don't want or that you think would like make your office or your home like noticeably less cool or comfortable.
it's all for irony's
It-
sake
it
at this
goes to
point.
Crispin. It goes
If it's
to
from the
Crispin.
Walgreens season a while, I have a home for it.
Were you the one who put the Brittany frog in the office? Because it magically showed up one morning.
That was probably Sean.
Oh, it was Sean.
Yeah. Usually,
I did because Crispin put it in my office. Because I'm the
Well,
opposite.
because
I'm
Sean's
like a
got like
snob
he
about
has a
what I-
loving collection of like really high end dolls in airplanes. So I took when I was cleaning my office, I took all this shit, like all this cheesy shit, and put it in next to all of his whatever you got.
Pictures of fucking pictures of bats from
Eating
National
bugs.
Geographic and like all over. And
Your office is so
you
bare.
hung like a sea cucumber thing off, a rubber sea cucumber off my light.
Mhm.
I was horrified. But it's like every day I come in, someone put a fucking snot rag that they'd blown their nose in, like right by my keyboard.
Well,
Was
that's
that
not
you?
right.
No, that wasn't me.
That's
That one
crossing
pissed
a
me
line,
off. I had
yeah.
to get like
what do you mean? That's like a dirty Kleenex?
a pen. Yeah, I had to get like a pen
Ew.
and like scoot it off my table into the
Yeah,
trash.
excretions are not allowed.
I think this is like your second life behavior coming back to haunt you. Somebody you like.
I still have this
Snot
thing
of the Minotaur.
where like because I moved, I moved from my old cube, across the way, and like I'll come back and it's just a habit, and I'll go to sit down in my old place and
I've
I'll
seen
see
you
it
do that.
now, and I'll be like, oh shit, like I'll have this immediate like nervous reaction of like, what the fuck happened here? Because someone else moved in there and it's a big shitty mess. And then I'm like, oh, okay, that's
was
not mine.
fast.
That's
I
okay.
really liked it. Robert Coffey's old cube, and this is a long time ago because he went from a cube then to an office. So years ago when he got this cubicle that's right outside of my office, Robert had some interesting and strange hobbies and obsessions, and one of them was he had this collection of serial killer playing cards. And at one point he put them up, on the window all around his cube wall, and which is great because he's a great guy, but he's intense and he's kind of scary and intimidating. And I remember when he first put him up, the HR person actually came to me and it's like, do we need to worry about that? It's like, it's really okay. He's not. I don't think he worships these serial killers, and maybe he does, but I don't think he's going to actually act out. So you're safe. But anyway,
Those things are still.
But
up.
that's what I was getting
They're
to. That
outside
he's,
of the copy
he
editor's
left.
cube now.
Yeah, he left Ziff Davis a long time ago, and every other person who's ever worked in there has never taken the serial killer cards down.
I was in that one.
Yeah,
You
there
were
were
in that one?
Sean's,
Ryan
then there
was
were
in that?
Ryan's,
and now
they're-
now the copy chief, the head of the copy desk, is sitting there, and he's like the most mild mannered guy. I've been wanting to ask him, like, do you even know that these are there? Like because anybody who came to the office now would just assume they were his. Like, man,
to me
what's
it-
with your
to
copy
me it
chief?
felt-
Oh, he is a quiet, normal guy, and it's always the normal, quiet
Oh,
guys
you're
that
right.
do it. So.
Maybe he's the one who's like, yeah.
To me, it felt like that surface that they were on was not my property. It felt
Oh,
more
I see.
communal.
Fuck that! I tore all that shit down that was on the outside of my cube.
Yeah.
They had a bunch of stuff too, Star Wars posters and stuff. I
Yeah, it must
tore
have
it
been
right the
Ryan.
hell down.
Why you a hater?
Oh, yeah, I just don't want to.
I mean, yeah, serial killer cards are kind of cool, so I left them there.
I have a frame though. I do now have the framed picture screen cap from Kung Fu for Nintendo of when in that game when the enemies went like it was called Kung Fu. It was kind of a misnomer because they would just grab you, but then they would grab you, and then if one of them was already grabbing you, they'd grab the guy who was grabbing you. So the trick was you get like 6 of them deep going. and then you hit print screen and put it in a picture frame.
I made that thing for you like 5 years ago.
I know. I remember I told you, you're like, what the fuck? It's like, Ryan, you were still an intern. I'm like, I need a screenshot.
Okay.
But that was like good. I remember
now it's in a picture frame.
That was kung fu, man.
Can I get one? That sounds cool. Should open a kiosk in the mall. Sell those things.
Good idea.
Once again, we've arrived at a point. I don't know how we got here.
I don't even
went
try
down
to
some
figure it
bizarre
out
road.
anymore.
What
Don't look back, Jeff.
Huh?
Come.
It's
That's a WoW shirt.
It's a WoW shirt. It's a World of Warcraft shirt. Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
Good.
It's a small camp in the Barrens.
Yeah, see,
It's
Sean
flight
knows the
plane.
exact
Yeah, I
zone
know.
They
location.
pulled it off
Give you the
because it
coordinates.
looks like it is an old, like
Camp shirt?
a thrift store shirt from and
Right.
someone actually attended that.
No,
camp.
this is like one of the WoW shirts I don't mind wearing. Of the 12 WoW shirts I wear.
That you don't
This is
mind
one I can wear in
either.
public, and most people don't think it's like a gaming shirt.
They need like a fake
Do they ever ask what
12K
welcome
corpse
to
run.
Kodo country means?
Yeah, usually it's like one of my aunts who sees this shirt, and it's like, oh, you went to camp? Where's that camp at? I never heard of that one. Is that like your daughter's music camp?
Do the one with the 12K corpse run and make her think that you're like athletic and that you're out and
Yeah, all they have to do is look at
Invitational.
me. I'm not athletic.
Mount Sac. Well, you're out running.
Yeah, whatever. Let's move on. What
So-
else? Do we have anything else this week? Oh, I was going to tell you one more thing, Sean. One more random thing, which is at this summit I was at. They had different people speaking from the game industry. Don't look like I'm going to tell a great story because it's not. You're looking all excited. There was this one moment where this woman,
shit.
this executive woman was just talking about virtual worlds or whatever, and she talked about how even she has a character in a virtual world called Second Life, and then there's big PowerPoint screen came up and she said, and here's my character. And she just showed her character in Second Life. No, but I was sitting next to Damian Lynn, the executive producer of game videos, and I just said, man, this screenshot so needs more Sean Elliott. You just look at this woman, and she would like put herself in a business suit on the sidewalk with other business-looking
This is
people,
so normal.
and it so needed like flying penises behind her. To just,
Or my character just standing beside it. That's why it was so. See, because people treat their characters so seriously. That was
the
why
thing. Was
it
her
drove
talk
them
was like,
nuts to just
and now
meet
Second Life
exist.
is a place where business people can go and meet, and it was at that exact moment was like, no, we need Sean's troops to come in right now. Hey, fuck you, lady!
We don't even need to say anything. You just walk in.
Meetings adjourned. What's a better barbarian game, Age of Conan or Second Life?
To be honest, I think you could probably have a lot more fun in Second Life.
To be honest, I had a lot more fun in
Second
the
Life.
hours I spent with Second
Yes,
Life.
but that was your emergent gameplay.
In
Right.
Conan, you'd probably have to grind for like 6 weeks to get like 7 dicks to hang off your face. You pick that shit up for free. You pick that shit up for free.
I'd ask Phil
Because
free to use
Anthony's
that in your
character,
marketing materials.
that was Anthony's character. Was some Clive Barker out.
Yeah. I just bought a ton of
You
dicks.
didn't buy. You got him out of the freebie
Oh
box.
yeah, and I attached him to every attachable point. I looked like a penis Cthulhu.
It's
or
so
something.
rad that you'll be in the mall. It'll be kind of like smoking. You don't want your patients, in
lots
scare
of them.
quotes, smoking in your shop. So like we were in like the dick mall and we're like buying them, and we'd hang them on our face, and they'd be like, "You got to take that off," or then the mall cops would kick us out. It was like you could buy the dick. It's like like weed rules. You could buy it there, you could sell it, but you just can't wear it.
That's reasonable.
Funcom might add this quest chain now. They're going to hear it, and we got to add this. We'll show him. He said we were going to have to grind for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Oh, no, you don't.
8 dicks.
See, if Second Life had like if it had PvP, then it would seriously, it would be incredible because you wouldn't just have the limit of your social experimentation couldn't just be who are we going to gank,
Right, but
or like what alliances are we going to form, and then also intra alliance like issues about like who's going to be the leader and this and that. But I mean, then you have like the stuff with real estate, with property, all that just regular socialization that's not fighting. But then when that opportunity's there. To do something more than bowl Rory and knock a bunch of people over.
Right, but I mean, at the same time, then people would like have a way to kick us out or
They already
harm
do.
us. Well, but most of the time when we'd get in there because we were moonlighting and there wouldn't be a mod or something, and we'd just be able to like hang out and there would be nothing they could do about it. That's what made it so great.
Those are
You
hard to
seized
find,
the
though.
day.
So the same person was actually theorizing that in the future, at some point, that is what the web itself was going to be. The web was eventually going to be, a virtual world, the old William Gibson neuromancer thing, where you're actually in this walking around in this other world. This was
Like
her
home for
this was
PlayStation 3
like-
or something?
I think
like
Dave,
home.
Dave Chappelle had a skit that pretty
I don't
much
think
like
so.
proved
I don't
why
think
that. Did you ever see that one?
No.
It was just like he was in the internet. And it's like he's like walking through this busy mall, and there's like a million dudes running up in his face, like trying to like get him to check out pictures of like Britney Spears' pootie tang and stuff like that.
Right.
I don't think people want to mess with all that horse shit just to look something
Yeah.
up.
Right. I think that's right.
Yeah, why do you need an avatar? Like, why do you need a simulation of a simulation
Yeah, I gotta
in order
walk.
to interact with the simulation?
I'm going to walk to the library to look up this Wikipedia knowledge. No.
Yeah.
No, thanks.
Yeah.
Sounds
I was going to
terrible.
look up this article, but I'm still waiting for the bus to get to the Wikipedia site.
You should have said, "Fuck." Wasn't that on a panel?
If
If you would have put your BlackBerry down for a minute,
yeah.
What you should have said was.
Yeah. I don't have one of those evil things yet.
Yet. You will.
you've been
Everyone will
on
be tethered
panels
to
though where
those.
people have been using those entire.
Oh,
time.
yes, I have been. Yep. I saw one on a panel today who was was using one of those goddamn things, sitting on a panel using it. Yeah.
While on the panel?
While on the panel. Yeah.
Such a class.
Sweet.
Yep. Hi, focus. You're here for an hour. Put the goddamn toy down. That's all I'm saying.
Thought you were talking to me for a second.
No. Random
Put the
crankiness.
battery
I
pack.
know, it's been an
Put
hour.
battery the pack down.
Battery the pack.
Felt like a teacher and your students are playing PictoChat or whatever it is.
Oh, that's got to
what
be
it's
tough
called.
to be a teacher these days with all that.
I would
All those
think.
gadgets.
Yeah. There's so many
Those
ways
secret
to
gadgets.
text and
I wouldn't. Wouldn't you just have to? I mean, I feel like if I was a teacher, I'd just be
Just
like,
give up.
no, I'd just be. No, you can't bring them in. There's no cell phones.
oh yeah.
None of that. No Game Boys. Whatever. I'd have to be a hard ass.
But then
What if you have like the one kid whose mom was like, no, he has to have his cell phone on all the time because just in case there's an emergency.
yeah, there are parents like that.
There's going to be one that ruins your whole scheme, and then like,
I'd
how come
say
he
then
can
I'll
have
keep
it,
it-
but
I'll keep it
Janie
on my
can't?
desk, and if I see it flashing, then the kid
Okay.
can have
Well,
it.
you see, you got this thought out.
It's sad, man. I don't know who would teach like below the college level.
They are brave
My
and
mommy
valorous
does it.
people to do.
Yep.
Yeah, they are.
Noble
I mean, I just
no, I'm not
like, it's,
kidding. That's
it's incredible that they do that. I was just reading a story though the other day in the San Francisco Chronicle about just the shortage of teachers for those levels, and it's like it was a teacher writing it. It was it was an op-ed section, and it's like, God, you have a fight ahead of you. You're trying to make a case to get other qualified people to do this position, and then and after all the training and everything too, it's like they start off at like $35,000 a year.
it's
Pays
criminal.
terrible.
It's
Like, to
criminal
deal
what
with this
teachers
shit.
get paid for what they're doing.
Yeah.
That was like my lame ass starting salary in like the game industry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Slinger.
I mean the fact that we're getting paid more to do this right here now than teachers, there's just something
That's
really
something
wrong
wrong.
with that. I mean, I'm not giving any of my money to them or anything.
No, of course not.
The money I'm going to use to buy pot.
From Anthony. Do you guys sell peripherals too?
What do you mean
Battery the pack.
what do you mean by
Everything that
peripherals?
goes along with.
Nah, there's a shop down the street that does that.
Oh.
Mad Cats.
Conveniently located.
Does this do this? Does it just come in baked goods, or is it like do they actually have actual?
We sell. We make our own baked
Look at
goods.
Ryan
we
getting
make.
nervous.
We make our own. We make our own baked goods.
Dude, he's gonna help you with lost theories, man.
We
Don't
make
be
our
drunk.
own alcohol tincture.
I'm not asking because I'm interested.
We
I'm not-
make
this
our
isn't a-
own-
This isn't a customer question.
We make our
I'm
own
just curious.
olive oil cooked with
Olive oil.
You can use like olive oil to cook, but it's got a lot of THC in it. We make and then we also have smokable stuff.
It's ridiculous.
Everything
man.
you can think of.
Do you have like jerky smoked in?
No,
Think about that though. It's like, do you go and get aspirin butter, or like you get aspirin shampoo?
Honestly, man, if I could get aspirin in a shampoo, I could shampoo my hair and take care of my headache.
You apply directly to the
Yeah,
forehead.
that's a good idea. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Want to take
Oh,
a break?
boy.
Let's take a break.
We're going to take a break. We'll come back with maybe a drug-free second half.
Yeah, right.
Or not. And we're back.
You're never going to not be able to do it.
I
that
can't
way,
not
are
do
you?
it. I can't not do it.
Whack here
Yeah.
every time.
So Sean Malloy, you saw Gothic 4?
Yes, I
week?
did. They being Dreamcatcher / Joe Wood brought in way early build of Gothic 4. So it was one of those like so early you kind of wonder why they're bringing it out. It was mostly just to show off the new technology and say, look, it's not as broken as Gothic 3, and you're like, well, it's also way early, so what,
Wait,
who knows?
That was their point?
Basically.
Look, it's not as broken as
Well,
Gothic 3. Boy.
Well, they wanted to tell us, hey, we got a new developer.
Man, that's quite a demo.
Yeah, it was so early. You're just like, okay, well, I don't know what to say about this because it's basically a guy running around with a sword, but not really able to fight because the AI is not ready yet. And you're like, okay, that looks like a pretty good world. But the reason I wanted to bring it up,
Yes, sir.
because they have a new developer. It's not Piranha Bytes anymore. It's been doing the Gothic series for a while. I wish I could remember the name, but it was some other developer because I guess they felt Piranha Bytes just screwed it up so bad.
But didn't Piranha Bytes create the whole?
Yes, they did. And so they've just passed it off to someone else.
That's
which
rough,
I think, like the Gothic fan community in Germany.
Tomb Raider, right?
Yeah.
That happened with
Core Design fucked it up. Went to
and Crystal Dynamics, and they did a great job with
Yeah.
Legend because that was way better than any of the.
Core was on a roll though. They had a great ninja game. Lots of good. Anyways, sorry.
Yeah, hurdy-gurdy.
Yeah.
Didn't they also make what was that ridiculous like?
Fighting Force.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was fun.
So anyway, new developer. It was way too early to discern whether that's a good thing or a bad thing
Yeah.
in this, 6 months in development tech demo. But because they're trying to cater to, obviously a hardcore PC German audience
Right.
and trying to sell this thing in America. What are you doing?
I don't know what that
Hypnotic.
is. Yeah.
What is that? Oh, it's like some.
it's a USB
thing.
bangle.
It's a USB cock ring.
It is.
So
Sorry, go
Hello? So okay, so they're so concerned. They're
Impressive-looking
so
ring.
concerned about
Yeah.
America and Europe that there is a toggle in the options menu, and I don't know how they're going to present if they're going to present it this way later in the game's life. But there's a toggle for an American check or a European check color palette,
Really?
which was one of the strangest things I've ever seen in a demo. I was like, really, a European color palette? And you're like, yeah, Europeans
Were
like
they showing that off, or
grabber
did you-
and more. They specifically mentioned it, and I was just taken aback by it, and like they're
And it's
down
going
to
be
that
called
level.
that?
I don't know.
So,
if that's like something internally, like maybe when they release the U.S. version, you'll get the U.S. color palette.
Oh, I see.
Which is
Not like a
brighter and more
toggle.
vibrant and has, glow effects and more lens flare-y kind of stuff. And then the European color palette is like drab and realistic and, earthier tones.
That's
darker browns.
retarded.
I was just like, wow. And they were just, it was making the point being, hey, we understand that the Europeans want something different from Americans, and I'm like, the color palette?
That's like
really?
that's the equivalent of like the marketing dorks telling us we need to use more yellow on our covers.
But it's even
kinda is,
It's
yeah.
odd too because that game is so.
But you already
like,
bought it at that point.
for their European audience in the first place,
Right.
and that they. I mean, is it more like? It's so weird. They're like this. This is what's going to do it. If those North Americans know that they can get some more
You can
shine
get some
on this.
color. The greens are greener, the whites are whiter.
But it's the same game engine.
No, it's a different game engine.
Oh, it
They
is.
kind of tore up.
No,
I mean-
it's the same game
Oh, yeah,
engine
yeah.
between
Between the
the
two.
European and American color palette.
Correct.
The difference is between Gothic 3
Yeah.
and 4.
Yeah.
That's bizarre. It's kind of
That is
like
very
the-
odd.
It was
those
one of the weirdest options I've ever seen in a menu before.
kind of fits in with Stalker, which I mean, if you look at the palette on that, I mean, it was as dreary as you can imagine, but rightfully so. I mean, it was basically just a recreation of the exclusion zone around Chernobyl, some of the stuff in Pripyat. They brought that. I mentioned that they brought Clear Sky in, and it's under embargo, and I don't know, for like another week or so. But one thing I can say though, that because it's not necessarily about the game, but just more about the studio, is that I asked the guy from GSC Game World, the developer, if Stalker ended up the way it was, sort of just because it couldn't help but be that way, and that way is that it didn't really hold your hand, it didn't have, it did. If you wanted to find out where to go, you'd have to pull up a map and look on the map and find out where, it wasn't telling you good job, you did something, you get an achievement point for it, or this is exactly what you were supposed to do. And also, other things that I mentioned is that it would have areas where things would be happening, and they would have put a great, an enormous amount of effort in building these really, nice looking sections, but then they weren't like set pieces or anything. They were just there. Sometimes maybe there would just be one loner in them. And it was such a unique way of designing a game, and it really reminds me of like, PC game design back when in North America, when gaming wasn't for everyone in the world. So what he said is that he was like, oh, of course, this was deliberate. And he's like, Ukrainian gamers and German gamers and the people who he made this for are absolutely hardcore. And it's like, if you can build a computer in Ukraine or whatever that's going to play this game, you certainly don't need us to tell you when you start the game that moving the mouse up makes you look up, and moving it down makes you move down, and then here's a train for you to crouch under to prove that you're capable of hitting C or shift or whatever the case may be. The whole game was definitely that way. And then even, it was even more interesting to hear him say that, like, yeah, we had to fight the publisher. They had to fight THQ on a lot of things because, and you understand, there's not a right or a wrong here. It's just for, taste, for the style of game you want to make. But because, again, it was like so weird. It's like that this game came out here in America, being the way it is. It just seems like a risk. So, I mean, it was interesting to hear that. And, of course, with, so for Clear Sky, it's basically the same, way of doing things. We're like, yeah, we're not going to, this is for hardcore gamers. And the other interesting thing about them is that they didn't make that much money. I mean, well, the game was profitable. I heard that the game was profitable, so for the publisher, but it was largely because of the people who made it aren't they're not making giant salaries. They despite the fact that they had been working on it, doing R&D on it for like 6 years, it was still easy to make a profit on publishing that game because they made so little. Now they're happy that they're making more, but something interesting too. So
is that.
This reminded me of in the current issue of Edge, or maybe it's not current. I don't know. We have a delay when magazines from UK arrive over here. It's Metal Gear Solid 4, and Edge. Okay. Edge is a magazine published in United Kingdom. Really small circulation and a very strong industry focus. And there's just a fantastic column in the back of this issue by. I should have brought it down with me. I'm not going to have his name, but he's someone who works at EALA. And did a guest column, and the whole thrust of his discussion is that used to be in PC games and just gaming in general, you'd have something like an Ultima or something, and you wouldn't know exactly what's going to happen if you walk through this marsh, if you end up going to get leg rot and your legs are going to fall off. You wouldn't know if every action is good or bad and what it did to you on a definite scale, a gray scale of absolute evil and total ethical behavior or something. You wouldn't even know. I mean, you just have to figure things out, and that was part of the fun. Seeing just who do you align with, where do you go for the missions and stuff, and then as opposed to now, I mean, we design games. Him, in exact opposite fashion, and that's of course all inclusivity. Everyone's got to be able to do it, but you also need to remind people over and over again that they're doing good. You have to tell them, like, this is what you were supposed to do. Like, hooray, you found the gold bar or something. And then on top of that, he didn't bring this up, but it just reminded me, there's this additional layer with achievement points where it's like, and even, another extent of telling people, like, yes, you're doing good. You're doing okay. This is the right thing. You're going the right way. And we've talked about it before, with games like Perfect Dark, literally have illuminated arrows on the floor telling you where to go. And he was just, saying, like, what are we losing if this is the only way to make games, and made a case for what does it tell you about the world when you play Ultima? And he made it, he put together this really excellent, summary of what he took from it. It's about, about trusting and figuring things out and stuff. And as opposed to what are the games that they're making now telling you? And it's basically that, like, if you do everything we tell you to, we'll give you a pat on the back every time you've done something we tell you to, and always know that we're here to watch. Another thing it reminded me of too, I'm thinking of is like especially achievement points. It's kind of like when you're at the swimming pool and you're like, look mom, because you're gonna like dive or jump in or something, and you absolutely have to have someone watching. Achievements is just that mom that everyone wants there to, like, look, I really did hit this guy with 6 grenades, like, or I really did find 15 gold bars in Battlefield Bad Company.
Here you go. Here's your achievement.
Yeah.
Good work,
That's
Sean.
nice. That's nice, Sean.
Anyway, yeah, I'm reading.
So, I mean, I guess you could ask them, like, if we're all on the same page. I mean, what are our attitudes toward that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think that's very true. That we're all like a lot more coddled now, right? And that we seem to need it. And it's funny because I was just joking about this with my daughter when she and I were playing Boom Blocks a few days ago on the Wii, and if you can get a gold, silver, or a bronze medal on all the different puzzles, and you can do these levels over to try to get a better score or whatever. But if you don't get even the bronze, if you just kind of blow the thing. I was playing with her, and that's what happened. Like, basically, I was going to win nothing. And the thing comes up, and it says, great job. And it's like, no, it wasn't. That was a shit job. Like, why did the game tell me that? And, I mean, I joked about it with her. She's only 14. It was like, man, they just can't let you feel like it should really say, you loser. It should say something like that, right? I mean, that's what an old game would have done.
Say fail.
Or game over and take it
over.
to the title screen.
Give us more money.
And certainly there are plenty of PC games, or not just PC games, console games too, where you make one wrong move and it's just game over and you're dead, and then you had to figure out, okay, I guess I shouldn't have done that. Certainly tutorials are another thing. I mean, when I replayed Fallout a few months ago, that was the thing that most struck me in the opening game, which was that you create your character and they put you in the world, and good luck. You got to figure out this game now, and it's hard right from the start. I mean, all you're doing is killing rats, but you got to figure out how to kill the rat. They don't like, now you're going to press this.
It's hard.
This
2600.
I was about
to figure out that it is a rat.
This totally reminded me of Ryan and I were on Wretchnauts the other day. We were discussing old Indiana Jones games. One of the first ones was Raiders of the Lost Ark
On the Atari?
Atari 2600.
Yeah.
Which was made by the same guy who made the ET version. If you played,
I really liked the Raiders game for the.
So did I.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't know. I was much younger, so my head space is a little different. But at the time, it was absolutely incomprehensible.
Right.
And that kind of was the challenge, was to figure out
because it had
what all this abstraction meant and trying to put it together. And then when you finally got the arc, you're like, wow, I figured out this like intensely bizarre cryptic puzzle that this person put together.
Like an entirely non-verbal form of reasoning that you had to have mastered, but there's never any direct articulation of what it is that you were doing. It's like you just did, like sometimes you're working on a project or you're trying to fix a computer. I'm sure we've all got some example, and you end up doing it, but you're at an entire loss for words of like how you did it or what led you to do one,
right,
one thing after another. And I mean, it's like that when I play those games too. Like Superman was the same way. It's like there's bridge parts, like what am I doing, what's going on, and Raiders of the Lost Ark, there was the level, of course, of what anything even represented on the screen. Is that a snake? Is that a whip?
Right.
Is that, but then when you do figure out what things are supposed to represent, it's still the logic of what they're doing there. It was really weird. I mean, it's like that game was almost like an IQ test or something, in some odd way.
Same with E.T. I mean,
yeah, except E.T. wasn't fun. I mean, it was basically falling into holes over and over.
but it still had that element of abstraction once you get out of the holes.
Yeah, it would never pop. And it's funny because now in games where it's so self-explanatory because of the fidelity of the graphics and everything, that like maybe there's a closed door in front of you, open the door, and it will tell you to open the door by pressing this button. But E.T. was never like, that's an alien and he's in a pit. You can levitate out of the pit by pressing this button. It would be like, there's a block and this is a black space and he seems to wiggle around when I wiggle the stick,
Well, I mean, nothing. That was also abstract, and even if you go as far back as Mattel football, like nothing's more abstract than that.
Yeah, just dots
on a glowing field. But I think all games through the years, you go back to side scrollers. You don't have any less control over your destiny in a side scroller. You just go right, kill the enemies, you go right. But then some games would occasionally have a door, and you can go in on a door, and you might. Like Bionic Commando or something like that. You want a door and you might see something new or read some text you didn't read. And I think games like that, there's games like that too now that they're essentially still a side scroller. You're going down a corridor, you're shooting the enemies and doing what they want you to do. But other games, might have some more doors to go off and explore. I don't know. And if you look at games like BioShock, that game actually made fun of the whole kind of hold your hand, like you're doing what we expect to do through the whole game with the whole like would you kindly thing. It was like a big joke about. That was the in-joke in the game.
The catch.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people hate these games, but even like Riven and Myst, to another extent, fall into that category where you're just kind of dumped into this world, and they're like, okay, you walk over there. There's a bird up there. Maybe that means something. There's 7 levers. There's a dial, and this thing's flashing green.
Yeah.
Go. And you're just like, And to me, people hate it, but at the time, I loved that. I loved trying to just.
I love those games, but I thought
that
those first 2 Myst games, but they were really fucking hard.
Right.
They really were. I don't, people don't really talk about it
it
now as being hard, more sort of like, the kind of thing that led to the like horrendous pile of shit of, CD adventure games that begat, But those original games were incredibly hard. I mean, especially to me, it was like you pull the lever on the crank and it turns something on the other side of the island. Like you couldn't even see the result of what you did. Like, well, okay, I guess I did something.
Right, and a modern Myst would have like the voice in your wristwatch go,
exactly.
You should check out the other side of the island.
Totally.
You'd see a cutscene.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
you'd see the thing move.
Yeah.
You had to you had to remember then the next time you were there on that side of the island that this rock is on the other side of the screen now. Whoa, when did that happen?
You'd have your cute little sidekick going, hey, I think you should check out the other side of the island now.
Maybe this means something.
Yeah.
Stuff that, like, just games being, like, just more difficult in the sense that enemies kill you faster or harder to kill. Like, I mean, I'm not going to defend that, but the difference would be, like, when it was good enough to say, like, and this is what was cool about Stalker, is, like, let's just being in this world and fighting for your life and figuring out what's happening to this world or why it is the way it is and what you need to do next should be interesting enough to keep you going. But then with, like, I don't want to just pick on EA because everyone does it, but EA, you can tell that it's become some internally mandated, like design principle for all of their studios that you have to take and try to let people know, this is where you're having fun, instead of just counting on it to be fun in the first place. And I don't want to say this for I haven't played Spore, I don't know what's going to be out, but I'm thinking about a lot of their shooters, so for Medal of Honor Airborne, for example, you'd say, hey, it's going to be exciting for people to jump out of a C-47, pull up a ripcord, and then parachute somewhere in the middle of a firefight. But then they got to go, no, we got to let people know that this is a game and make it fun. So then we're going to have 5 highlighted areas, and you get bonus points if you land on them. And if you land on them, a medal will appear on the screen and tell you, great job. One of the elements in, Bad Company, of course, is that as you're going through the battlefield, you're supposed to go and find gold bars everywhere. And so it's like surviving the battle. I don't know, some people like that, but we got to like really make it fun. And we'll put a big, hooray, you found the gold bar. Or, and then like again, I mean, it just
find the musical notes.
Yeah. And it just, and then even in Airborne, again, there's the whole thing where if you get enough headshots, then you unlock